Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
Today we're going to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original movie from 1990. Directed by Steve Barron, written by Todd W. Langen and Bobby Herbeck from a story by Bobby Herbeck, and of course based on characters created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. And real quick, I wanted to say thank you to a user on iTunes that goes by Stargeek. They gave us a 5-star review. The title of the review is Best Podcast Ever! !
Wow.
Right. They said, this podcast isn't getting enough praise. These guys are extremely entertaining. You need to watch this podcast. Which I'm assuming they actually meant listen to this podcast, because we don't have a...
They either meant listen to this podcast, or they thought they were reviewing another one.
I'm going to say they meant to say listen. Either that, or they are watching us, and we don't know.
That's possible, too.
Which would be scary. No, I'm going to say they meant to write listen. But I, even if it is for another podcast, I appreciate you writing it.
You still helped us out. Yeah,
that's right. So thank you, Stargeek. We really appreciate that. This is a film that I had not seen in quite some time. I actually had watched the beginning of it a few months back, but never really finished. I think maybe I turned it on and fell asleep or something. So it's a little different than how I remembered as a kid, because as a kid I loved it.
Yeah. This is one of the movies that I watched over and over and over.
Yeah.
It's in the category with 89 Batman and Ghostbusters for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a couple years afterwards, but that's kind of the movie that took the place of those.
Right. It came out a year after Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah, right.
So I have a feeling I probably saw it in the theater. I don't really recall seeing it in the theater.
I saw it in the theater.
But I'm sure I did. Yeah.
Which was pretty awesome. I remember seeing the trailer for it, actually. I don't know if it was on television. Did they do trailers frequently on television?
Not full, 2-minute trailers, but I think they did 30-second TV spots like they do now usually. But
they probably would have played some kind of clip like that during the cartoon in between. And I remember seeing...
Probably.
The shells come out of the water.
Uh-huh.
Like when they pop up individually, and just thinking... Wow. But at the same time, it wasn't I was probably 5 or 6 years old, so it wasn't like, oh my gosh, they're finally making a Turtles movie.
Right, I've been waiting my whole life for it.
Right.
No, I just think but I think you and I both grew up on the cartoon show.
Yeah.
And so I think it's always kind of fun. I do remember... I do remember seeing the poster for the movie, which was their 4 faces kind of peeking up underneath the manhole cover,
and they looked
you see the city skyline.
They were just surreal,
right? And it was just the cartoon was coming to life, I think, which was what the most exciting part was for us at that age. Just seeing and you don't even see all of their Donatello and Michelangelo, their faces are kind of covered up. You only really see their eyes, but just seeing the orange mask, the blue, the purple, and the red mask in their eyes, it was just, you were just it was coming to life basically, and it was really exciting.
But it was like I was saying, for me, it's kind of weird. It was they, like you said, they're coming to life, but it was they're real, almost in a freaky way.
Right.
Before we get into the movie, do you want to talk about the cartoon?
We can a little bit, sure.
Because the cartoon was made... I mean, the movie was made because of the cartoon. Quite the opposite of Ghostbusters.
Right.
But
I wouldn't be surprised if Ghostbusters had a big influence on it. Ghostbusters, the movie did really well, so they made a cartoon show of it. The cartoon show does really well. They have a cartoon show of Ninja Turtles. It's doing really well. They probably maybe had kind of the reverse thought of that and said, well, maybe if we made a movie of it, it would do really well. I don't know.
That's true if you think about it. I mean, what movies about cartoons had been made at this point? I can't think of anything. Then again, I consider Turtles, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, to be one of the first massive market towards children. Like, truly, like, we're going after them with the toys, not including Star Wars. You know, you might throw in He-Man.
Right.
But
Well, even
Turtles
Batman.
outdid He-Man. Easy.
Yeah. This might be you could be right. I can't think of one off the top of my head. This might be the first live action movie based on a cartoon show.
Right.
Previously they had the Transformers the movie,
Right,
which
yeah,
was an animated
I'm talking
film.
about live action.
Yeah, but live action wise, like, you know, unless I'm just completely forgetting something, I can't think of one.
So you had that.
I mean, not counting Batman, because Batman is based on a comic book character,
right?
Though they had cartoon shows and whatnot.
And technically the Turtles are too, but the success of Batman came from the comics, and the success of the Turtles came from the television show,
Right?
And the toys,
right? Which, by the way, I just got to say, I used to have so many Ninja Turtle toys, so many. I had toys based off the show, the TV show. I had toys based off of the second, I'm pretty sure the third movie, even though I only saw that one once.
Oh, so bad. I
had so many of them, and then one day my mom decided to just sell them at a garage sale. And I was I was so upset. I came home one day and I was like, "Where are my Ninja Turtle toys?" And she's like, "You don't play with them anymore. I got rid of them." And I was like, "What?" And
what prompted you to ask where they were if you weren't playing with them?
I don't know. I just noticed that they weren't where I had last seen them or something, you know?
The day she sold them, you'd come home from school, you're like, I think I'm going to play with my turtles today. I haven't played with them for a long time.
Right. Pretty much. So, that was disappointing. Just wanted to say thanks, Mom.
My mom did the same thing. But she kept a few of them.
Oh, yeah?
And I have all 4 of the original Turtles.
Oh, nice.
They don't have like the belt or anything that they came with, or the weapons.
Right. All those accessories got lost when you were a kid.
And I used to have, I don't know if you had any of them, but the very first editions of them had soft, hollow heads. Like rubber. And I've got Shredder, and he has a hollow head. And I used to have Rocksteady.
Yep.
With a hollow head. I have a newer one that doesn't. And then here's a little tidbit of my early life. When I lost my Leonardo, and I was at school one day, and I swear this was totally innocent. I wasn't being a jerk or anything, but I was walking out of class one day to the bus, and there were these displays outside of a classroom of, I guess, some kids' projects, and one of them had a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figure on it, and I just saw it there, and I was like, ooh, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, it's coming home with me, so I grabbed it. And my mom painted, it was Raphael, and my mom painted his mask blue so I'd have a Leonardo.
Nice.
Yeah. So somewhere out there, I've got someone's old Raphael figure.
He's really upset with you. He's a listener right now, and he's going to be like, what?
That's what happened to the turtle on my project. It was Oak Grove Elementary in Peachtree City, Georgia.
Oh, that's sad. I have a similar story, but we'll save it for another day. It has to do with a Mighty Mouse figure. But I will, because of the whole incident with my mom selling the toys, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys, I guess because I gave her such a hard time for it, she was like, fine, I won't sell any more of your toys. And because of that, I still have all of my Ghostbuster toys from the TV show and whatnot. So those are all, well, unless my mom has sold them without me knowing recently, but they're all still sitting in my parents' attic, as far as I know, waiting for me to eventually take them, I guess, and put them in my own house. But
I don't have any I didn't have that many. I had all the Ghostbusters. I didn't have like the original ones because there were the original ones, and then there were the ones that did those faces.
Yeah. And I think I had all of them. I think. I didn't like those. Like, I liked them at first. When I first got them, I thought they were cool, but eventually they kind of annoyed me.
Oh, I loved them because that's all I had, and that's all I knew. I didn't even know there were other ones, so I was like, it's Ghostbusters.
Well, I'm just talking about the ones that made faces, yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about Ghostbusters toys on the Ghostbuster episode, because we're going to be doing that soon.
Right, okay. Well, back to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990. By the way, starring, I really only know two of the actors, because of the actors who played the Turtles themselves, I don't have in front of me. But Judith Hoag plays April O'Neil, and Elias Koteas, I'm assuming is how you say his name, he's one of those kind of that guy actors, if you will. You see him all over the place. Every time I see him, I always immediately think he's Casey Jones from this movie.
I've only seen him one other time, and it was in a TV show recently. It was like a fire department show or something like that. And I was like, hey, it's Casey Jones. But that's really the only time I've ever seen him.
He's very bald now. Well, he's been in a ton of stuff. I'm sure you've probably seen other movies with him in it, and you just didn't pick up on it or something. Both are good. What did you think of? Because like I said, I don't remember the third movie. I think I saw it one time in the theater, so I haven't seen it since then. So that'll be interesting to do a podcast on that one. But this April O'Neil did not come back for the sequel, Secret of the Ooze. So what did you think about this April O'Neil?
April O'Neil, she, what's interesting going back and watching this movie, I hadn't seen it for a while either. Mm-hmm. But it's like literally getting in a time machine. And being able to become your 6-7-year-old self as if you're sitting on the couch watching it again, because you remember every detail, every piece of music that happens with the reaction to someone.
Right.
And so I would not want anyone else to have been April O'Neil, because every little squeal she makes, everything, facial expression she does, fits in that movie for me.
Yeah.
As with everything else. So, but rewatching it, I thought she was fine. I thought she wasn't. She could have been more attractive, in my opinion.
Right.
Now I think that I haven't seen the new one, but I guess no one has, because it hasn't come out yet. But Megan Fox, that's a little. That's too much.
Going too far in another direction.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I what's interesting about April O'Neil is she was... I went back and read the comics here like a month ago. Like the first 12 episodes, or 12 editions.
Yeah.
Yeah, issues. And she was quite a different character. Like, she wasn't even a reporter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was like an engineer that worked for Baxter Stockman.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I'll say right now, I've never read any of the comics. My Ninja Turtle, I know that the comics were darker. They were in black and white, and I know that they were tonally darker. I think they were more violent and whatnot, obviously, than the cartoon show. The cartoon show now is really funny. I popped in one of the episodes a while back, and I remember like the Foot Clan, like his evil plan, he like kicked a soda machine and like a bunch of sodas fell out, and it was like supposed to be like, he's like, yeah, I'm evil type of thing. And I remember thinking that was really funny. So no, anyway, my knowledge of the Ninja Turtles comes pretty much strictly from the movies and the cartoon show. So I did not know that April O'Neil was not originally a reporter.
Yeah, I didn't either until recently. I mean, like I said, first time picking them up about a month ago. What's interesting is that the movie follows the story of the comics, like almost to the T in certain sections, like the break-in of the antique store. That fight happens, except instead of Raphael, it's Leonardo in the comic.
Oh wow!
And Leonardo and Casey Jones are the buddy in the comic. But yeah, they do that. They go to April's parents' house, who she hadn't been there for years, and I think they even make the same comment about Grapes of Wrath, and and they show it's not Donatello. I think it was Raphael in the comic, where they're fixing up the car,
right?
And calling each other names and all that. So there was a lot of scenes that were in the comics that were adapted for the movie.
Oh, that's really interesting. I did not know that. Without jumping too far ahead, I guess, into the movie, I do want to start off in the beginning and say, when the turtles first show up, which is when April's getting mugged outside of the news station, and you see the Psy fly through the air and hit the light, and then you just hear the sound effects, and you hear one of them, I think, goes like, "Whoa!" It was just so much fun. It was the movie was still teasing you, like as a kid, you're like ready to see the turtles on screen, and then you still don't see it, and then you see kind of Raphael peek up out of the manhole cover, the sewer, and he sees April take his sign and everything. It was a lot of fun, and then
oh man,
yeah, and then you hear that music, and you see their shadows in the sewer. And I love.
Well, at first it's showing the credits, and it's like slowly going through the sewer,
right? Which is fun.
And you don't see the shadows for a while, and then you hear them talking, and then it was like the Jaws strategy.
Yeah, kind of. Obviously they get to it a lot quicker. It would be a really boring movie if they never showed the turtles,
right?
But yeah, absolutely. It's like they knew there was going to be kind of this anticipation to see, even though you kind of, we saw them in the previews, we saw them on TV and stuff, like commercials.
Right, but these kids have been standing in line.
Right,
they went and got their popcorn. They had to sit through the trailers,
and so it was just teasing them for just a little bit longer. Building that anticipation. And I wanted to say, I love that they used the logo from the cartoon show. It had, do you remember, like it kind of came zooming out at the screen.
I never really thought about that, but yeah, you're right. And obviously that's just because that logo was so branded with the turtles.
Popularity, sure.
Yeah.
I think they did a good job. The voice actors, Corey Feldman is a little weird now, but I think he was fine at the time. At the time when I was a kid, I didn't even know who Corey Feldman was. It wasn't until I got older that I realized Corey Feldman was the voice of Donatello.
Right.
But I think all the voice acting is actually, I feel like, I know it's not the same guy, but I feel like whoever voiced Leonardo sounds a lot like my memory of Leonardo from the cartoon show. He kind of has that, he doesn't sound like him, no?
No.
But it's not, I know it's not the same voice, but it doesn't have, don't you think he kind of got like the characteristics of the personality the same, if you will?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I was just saying that I didn't see a confusion myself with, is that possibly the same?
Right. No, I know. Yeah, I know it's not the same guy. I just felt like whoever voiced him in the movie did a good job of almost not mimicking. Mimicking is the wrong word, but kind of just. He played Leonardo almost the same way I felt Leonardo was played in the cartoon show. Because Leonardo is kind of, they're all teenagers, and so they're all going to be kind of goofballs from time to time. But Leonardo and I feel like Raphael, the two of them are the ones who are like most serious most of the time, and Leonardo especially. Leonardo is kind of the one who, he wants Splinter to be proud of him type of thing. I feel like he's always the one that wants to be, Leonardo leads, as the cartoon theme song tells us.
Right. Donatello does machines.
Right.
Yeah, I loved the voice acting. Even now, like I said, it fits with the movie, and that's one of the hardest. This movie has, I think, been the hardest for me, even more than Batman, and I know what Ghostbusters is going to be, to really pull myself out and see this movie as a movie, because all I can think about is
how you watched it when you were a kid.
Yeah. Just how yeah.
And it's funny, I mean, you talked about how, like, pieces of music kind of can bring you back, and the way you hear a certain line can bring you back to how you were a kid, and that totally happens.
You can even remember, like, the emotions that you were feeling inside when you were watching that.
Yeah. And that totally does happen. There's a, kind of it's like the score almost. It happens in the beginning of the movie, and it happens later on in the movie. There's just like the da-da-da-da kind of part, and it...
Right.
Every time I hear that, I'm like, it immediately transports me back to being a kid. I feel like I just, for whatever reason, that small piece of music just has like stuck with me throughout the years, and I didn't even realize it, kind of,
Yeah. Which is really cool.
The soundtrack of this movie was one of the first CDs I ever had growing up. CDs were fairly new at the time. And I remember my family had just gotten, probably a year or two before, had gotten a CD player, and that was one of the first CDs I ever had, was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles soundtrack.
I didn't get my first CD until, I think, 1999.
Wow. That is... that's a long time. My first CD ever was New Kids on the Block.
Nice.
Yep.
I like the New Kids on the Block.
There's that. Yeah.
The Right Stuff.
Right. It's one of those things where they were cool, and then they became uncool, and then they became cool again, almost, type of thing, Like, their old stuff, anyway. They did come back recently and do, like, a new tour or whatever, and I don't know how cool that was. But,
right. I mean, I hated them when I was a kid.
Really? When I was, like, in first grade, I thought really liked... I mean, we're getting way off topic here, talking about New Kids on the Block now, but I really liked New Kids on the Block when I was a... 5-6-year-old.
I remember I was jealous of them. There was this girl in my kindergarten class. She had a New Kids on the Block T-shirt, and I was like, "Those jerks."
But it always comes down to the girls.
Jealousy. Happened to me with Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic. I did not like Leonardo DiCaprio for the longest time because of Titanic.
I think every guy our age, I think, went through the same thing with Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic. It wasn't until, and honestly, that like ridiculous view on Leonardo DiCaprio stuck with me until 2002. So it was a nice 5-year period where I just hated Leonardo DiCaprio for no real reason other than the fact
that Gangs of New York?
All the girls. It was Gangs of New York and Catch Me If You Can. Those two movies came out the same year, and those two movies blew me away. And then from then on, I've loved everything he's ever done.
Yeah. Yeah, all the girls, they were just... You hadn't seen anything like that since Jonathan Taylor Thomas, really.
Right.
Which was, if you think about it, it's weird how time slows down, because that was 95.
Right.
And then Leonardo DiCaprio came, Titanic's 97. Later. And it feels like there was a whole, section of school, there that it was just 2 years, but... I remember not liking Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Oh, that's funny. We're getting off topic here, and I think it's partially because I almost don't... there are some questions I have with this movie, but I almost don't want to say bad things about it, because like you said, it's a part of our kind of childhood almost,
Right. But, well, say bad things, by all means, please.
Well, no, I mean, the movie gets ridiculous. But my first question is, how did the Turtles have money to pay for their pizza? They don't work jobs. So
you're going this route. Yes. Okay, well, I've got some things to bring up too.
That was my first question. I mean, that was the first thing that popped in my head when I restarted watching this movie. Because right after they rescue April, Splinter's talking to him, and Michelangelo's on the phone ordering a pizza, and he's like, "It'll be here in 30 minutes." And he gives him money. He pays for it. It's not like... I could see if they always did the 30 minutes or it's free thing from different locations or something and got free pizza that way. But I mean, they've been doing it for... I'm assuming they've been eating pizza for 15 years. That's all they eat.
Man, and think of all the 20s they're spitting out, man.
Yeah. Domino's Pizza delivery. Of course, this is 1990, so maybe the price was a little different, but it's not cheap. It's not a cheap way to eat. So anyway, that's my question. How do they get money? I'm assuming they must rob places. They must. They're obviously thieves.
They're thieves. They're ninjas.
Right.
They don't mind, going in. Wait, no, it was April's. Never mind. I was going to say they don't mind going into antique stores, but that was her family's.
Even Raphael has money to go see a movie. He goes and sees Critters or Critters 3 or whatever it is that he sees.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact. This is just kind of fun because this is what they did in the cartoon show too. They just put on a trench coat and a fedora or whatever, and nobody.
And then they're fine. Yeah. Let's go walking around town.
Nobody recognizes that they're
except the taxi driver.
Right. The taxi
looks like
driver
some kind of big turtle.
Speaking of the taxi driver, for years I never understood what he was saying because as a kid I had no idea what LaGuardia was. I had no idea that there was anything called LaGuardia Airport. So he was like, "What was that?" And he's like, "It looked like a giant turtle in a trench coat. You're going to LaGuardia, right?" And I was like, for years that was gibberish. I had no idea what he was saying. I had zero clue.
I picked up a couple on those too. Casey Jones when he hits what's the sensei, not the sensei guy.
The bad guy?
Yeah.
And it's like Tatsu or something like that.
Yeah. And Casey Jones hits him with the golf club. And he goes, I don't know what
he says. I'll never call golf a dull game again.
Yeah. I always heard something about golf, but I never knew what he said. And I didn't care,
Right, it doesn't matter. I didn't care. Right. I didn't know what LaGuardia was, but I didn't care. He was like, for the longest time I was like, is he trying to say like you want to get out of here? He's like, you're going to LaGuardia, right? And was like trying to decipher it in my brain, could never figure it out.
And I just thought of some more, and when you think about it, it almost takes away the story. Like, I was thinking about when Raphael meets Casey Jones, and he's like, he tells him he's teaching this punks a lesson. He's like, not like that, they don't. Not from you. I didn't know what he was talking. Just
right.
Little things like that. You just dialogue that you.
That's another
as
one.
A kid.
That's another where he grabs the bat and he says a Jose Canseco bat.
Right.
I didn't know who Jose Canseco was, so I thought that was like a brand or something. I didn't know what he was talking about.
A cricket.
Yeah.
You got to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket. What?
That line doesn't make sense to you as a kid. Yeah. But yet still we love it.
Yeah.
And I love how upset he gets when he calls him a freak.
Freak!
Yeah.
Freak!
The actor who played Raphael in the suit is the only one of the actors in the turtle costume that actually also voiced his turtle. And that actor is really recognizable. His name is Josh. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. It's Pais. Maybe Pius. I don't know. But he's very recognizable. If you look him up on IMDb, you'll click on him and see his face and be like, "Oh yeah, I know. I've seen that guy." He's actually the guy in the back seat of the taxi cab. He's the one that says, "What was that?" Yeah. Each one of the turtles, each one of the actors in the turtle costume has a cameo in the movie.
That's all. What, Corey Feldman?
No, not the voice actors.
Gotcha.
The actors in the suits. The actor who plays Michelangelo is the pizza delivery guy in the beginning.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the other two guys, the guy who plays Leonardo, I don't know who he is exactly. He's just listed in the credits as gang member. But the guy who plays Donatello is the Foot Clan messenger who slaps April in the subway. So they each have kind of another part in the movie, which I thought was kind of cool. And also, I don't know if you recognized him, but there is a young Sam Rockwell in this movie.
No.
He's so you remember when the kids are getting shown to the Foot Clan hideout, and it's all got the kids smoking cigars and playing poker and riding skateboards. He's the guy giving the tour, and the kid goes, "Got any cigarettes?" And he goes, "Regular or menthol?" That's Sam Rockwell.
It's funny because I was going to say, is that the guy that played Leonardo as a gang member? But there you go.
Nope, that was Sam Rockwell. Pretty cool.
Speaking of him, I loved how at the end when the chief is like looking for answers. And he goes, you might want to go check out the warehouse down on whatever street.
Yeah, he actually says you want to check out the East Warehouse on Lairdman Street, which is a play off of the creators of the Turtles,
Gotcha.
Eastman and Laird.
Nice.
So I don't know why they didn't say the Laird Warehouse on Eastman Street. They said the East Warehouse on Lairdman Street for some weird reason. But it's a play off of the names of the creators.
Anyway, the chief turns around and he's like, all right, let's go. And he just lets the gang members go free.
He's like, I want some answers here.
These guys clearly know what was going on in town. They know where all the stolen goods are.
I know you guys were a part of it, but clearly you've turned over a new leaf, so I'm going to let you go.
It's like Spider-Man 3 and Sandman.
Right, exactly. One of my issues with it as an adult, I guess now, is the whole idea that Splinter learned ninja training or whatever as a rat. It was even before he got into the ooze. He was mimicking his master's moves from his rat cage. And I thought, wow, that is one intelligent rat.
Right. That is how it happened in the comic, though I don't know if he was learning martial arts as a rat, as opposed to just remembering what his master was doing.
Right.
But yeah, in the comics, he was an actual rat. He was never a human being, which they, of course, changed in the cartoon.
Right. He used to be a human being and got turned into a rat. That's right. I forgot about that.
He was his, what's his master's name? Hamato Yoshi?
Yeah, Yoshi.
And so, yeah, in the cartoon, he actually was Hamato Yoshi.
Which I don't know how did he become a rat? Because he got in the ooze with the rat or something?
Yes.
Right. Which I guess, if you're talking about people who are getting turned into rats or turtles who are turning into mutant Ninja Turtles, I almost feel like that one makes a little bit more sense than a rat just learning ninja moves from his rat cage. But I wondered if it was from the comics. And I'm also very curious as to whether or not the new movie is going to, which direction that, how they're going to deal with Splinter learning ninja.
I've read that they make some changes on a lot of things.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Apparently, April O'Neil, spoiler alert, for the new Ninja Turtles movie. It's not really a spoiler, but it is.
Just anybody who really cares about the new Ninja Turtle movies, just fast forward like 15
Nobody.
seconds.
So, I do want to see it, but the Rotten Tomato reviews are scaring me. She apparently has a lot more to do. Well, not a lot more, because she never had anything to do to begin with. But she has stuff to do with
their transformation,
them turning into the Turtles to begin with.
Well, the first trailer that came out was talking about how they were trying to create heroes, and it was like William Fichtner, who we all thought was playing Shredder, but I guess is not playing Shredder now, says something like, that's what your father and I were trying to do. And he's talking to April O'Neil, presumably.
Yeah. And I take back what I said, actually, because I just remembered in the comics she was working for, like I said, Baxter Stockman, right. And they created they were
TCRI or whatever. Was it TCRI
Wait, no, they
in the
weren't.
comics?
Yes, TCRI. It wasn't them. Never mind. It was actually the Krang, like aliens. That's
something that I would be kind of curious to. I have a feeling we're not going to really probably get a sequel to this new movie because of the Rotten Tomato scores, and
right.
We'll have to see how much money it makes over the weekend. It could be like a Transformers thing where nobody cares about the reviews and goes and sees it, but I don't know. But that being said, it would be really interesting to see a live action version of the whole thing with Krang and the inner dimensions and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's super intriguing to me is Dimension X.
Yeah.
It's so, there's so much lore that goes into the Turtles. aside from Shredder and the Foot Clan.
Right.
And I wish they could tap into that and not make it cheesy.
Right. It'd be interesting. I mean, it'd be hard to do Krang without being cheesy, but I think it could be cool.
Because Krang's actually not a brain.
He just looks like one. Well, he looks like a brain with tentacles.
No, he lost his body.
So he was a man?
No, because I was looking this up. It was hard for me to find, but I finally found it. An episode on YouTube where they show Krang's actual body, like he clones himself, and they start out as brains like him, but something about the cloning, they grow their bodies back, and they look like the brain like head, like their heads kind of look like the brain, but they are like these giant reptilian creatures.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and they're huge. They're like 8 feet tall.
Krang was always an interesting character to me, and the way he had that like robot body that he kind of moved around in, and for whatever reason he was in like the torso of it.
If you watch the cartoon, it's really funny because for all of the like first season, he's constantly nagging Shredder, going, "Have you completed my body yet?"
Yeah.
And he's like, I haven't gotten to it yet. We've got to do this first. And it's like, and then finally he's like, "Have you done my body?" He's like, "Yes, I actually did complete it," and pulls the tarp off of it.
I remember Krang being kind of a jerk to Shredder. I mean, Shredder is a bad guy, so he deserves it. You never really feel bad for Shredder. But yeah, Krang was always like, I don't know, he was just kind of pushing Shredder's buttons,
One of the lines that I remember from the cartoon that was great was they get sent back to Dimension X, and Krang is just thrilled, and he's like, "I'm back, and I can, complete taking over Dimension X," and Shredder just starts whining like a baby. And he's like, "No, I don't want to conquer Dimension X. I want to conquer Earth." But
I do
he does
remember
it
that.
like a toddler throwing a temper tantrum.
Oh, man. The voice of Shredder on the cartoon show, I really liked the voice of Shredder in the movie. I thought that was actually, they did a pretty cool job with that. But the
Even
voice
though it really doesn't make sense why he has the distorted voice.
Right. I mean, they kind of almost make it seem, I mean, it's just, that I think they were almost trying to maybe kind of mimic the voice from the cartoon show, which was Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, whose name is escaping me. James Avery. So I think they were kind of trying to make it similar to the cartoon show voice. But I thought, I mean, you could maybe say that like it could be his mask, kind of like a Bane type thing. But nonetheless, I thought it was.
Well, hold on a minute here. You brought up the money issue, so I'm going to say that's a no-go. Because you can,
all right,
you could just see through the mask when at the end.
Absolutely, especially at the end when he's talking to him.
Yeah.
Maybe he could just do that with his voice.
It's possible.
No, I doubt it. I love. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think they were kind of going for a Darth Vader too,
right?
And they even throw in the line when he's like talking to the kids, and for the introduction of Shredder.
I am
was
your father.
Awesome.
Yeah.
He goes, "I am your father." So I was like, well, that wasn't.
That's a little on the nose.
Yeah.
Right.
But the introduction to Shredder was awesome. You've got the music. It comes in with the drums. Doom. Doom, doom, doom. And then you just see this little shadow like coming, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and then you see him walking. And his suit looks fantastic. The helmet, the blades, it was. I love his suit.
Yeah.
And speaking of suits, the turtles, they look great.
Yeah, I think now that 24 years have passed, I think their mouths kind of move almost too much when they speak.
Yes,
it's like the Jim Henson puppeteers went a little nutso with it, but yeah, absolutely. I think they look awesome. I think there was a couple times where I was like, I'm actually surprised you can't really tell where the mask ends and where like the neck part of the costume begins. Like they did a pretty good job of kind of not always, but they in certain scenes like it does a good job of kind of blending it all together where it makes it look like it's, one piece. Doesn't look like a guy in a costume.
Yeah. I mean that was they're physically there.
Right.
You can touch them. It's not the new CGI. Of course, they didn't even have that ability back then. But
right.
Even today, you know their suits. You look at them, and if you look at them as suits, yes, you can see their suits. But watching a movie, they look awesome, and the maneuverability of them. They're able to fight
right
the way they do, and it was great. Those suits are awesome.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And like you said, I think it's also just, like seeing our favorite cartoon characters coming to life,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how someone would perceive this movie if they had not been a Turtles fan.
Right. It's not a movie, like if someone came up to me and was like, I've never seen the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I don't think I could be like, oh, you've got to watch it. Because if you're, an adult now, just watching this movie for the first time, you're not going to see the magic in it like we did when we were kids. Yeah. And if you're watching it for the first time through adult eyes, I think you'll be like, this is the worst thing. Maybe not the worst thing you've ever seen, but you would be like, this is terrible. And a lot of that...
I don't know. I don't know if I'd consider it terrible.
You'd have to really suspend, your disbelief about the whole... Splinter learning ninja, fighting.
Right, you've got right
in his cage, and then there's this whole thing, which maybe this happened in the comics. You'll have to let me know. But the whole weird Splinter turtle telepathic communication that goes on at April O'Neil's farmhouse.
I can't remember. Like, there's a scene that was similar to that. I can't remember. I think it did actually happen.
That part throws me. If it had just been Leonardo meditating and Splinter said Leonardo, and he was like, he's alive, and they had left the farmhouse after that, I think it would have been a little bit more... It would have been easier to swallow, but the fact that he takes them all out into the woods and they start a fire, and Splinter's like Obi-Wan Kenobi ghost shows up in the fire and talks to them all, that's a little weird. And that is almost too much for me. It's just... Oh,
I agree.
I was I
never had that feeling until this viewing.
Yeah.
That's like I said, it'd been a little while, and it hadn't. I mean, I probably had seen Turtles a couple years ago.
Right.
But, with my kids and everything. But, yeah, this time it really did, like, what is going on?
Right.
Why are they doing this? Like, the movie people.
Yeah.
Why did they do that?
It almost seems lazy. It just seems like they needed all the turtles to be like gung ho about going back to the city and getting Splinter, I guess. Why they just couldn't believe Leonardo, I don't know why. It was.
I think it was for emotional grab, a heart tugger.
I'm sure it was. It just seemed, like I said, I feel like they could have done it a better way. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that they shouldn't have even had it. I don't know because they never open their eyes,
right? So maybe they're dreaming it, or maybe they're. But how? Each one of them, I feel like hears the same message. Michelangelo's crying at the end.
Yes,
they're all like really kind of inspired almost to go back to the city and get Shredder and save him. So
right.
I feel like it definitely was like some sort of weird telepathic communication that is not explained at all. There's no reason for Splinter to be able to do that or for the Turtles to be able to do that.
Oh, I just remembered something from the comics. That's a big thing in one of the issues. He actually switches bodies with an old man in Japan through that method.
Splinter does?
Yeah. Like there's this old man that's dying, and he's trying to find his grandson to carry on the lineage, and he's in New York. Here's another New York movie, by the way. And, where were the Turtles during the Avengers?
Right?
I mean, it's not Marvel. They're not Marvel, but anyway.
They were still learning.
So, yeah, I mean, he does have that ability, apparently, in the comics. But that didn't need to go in the movie. That was something that everything else is so real.
Right.
Except, of course, for the mutation of baby turtles turning into giant.
Like I said, I'm nitpicking it, something that, yeah. But I mean, if it's something, like I said, storytelling-wise, I feel like it's just a little lazy. If they had set it up, perhaps, in the beginning, to where he was communicating with him that way, I would believe it a lot more when it happens again. But the fact that it just kind of happens out of nowhere, and it's from what it seems like, it's the first time it's ever happened. It seems like the other turtles are all kind of almost surprised by it. Kind of. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But
well, I mean, they would have had to have been, because if they had experienced that before, and Leonardo came back and said, "Hey, I talked. Splinter's alive," they would have been like, "Oh, you talked to him?"
Right.
They have no clue.
Did he speak to you through
what he's talking
through his
about.
Mind, like he does sometimes?
Right. Right.
We've talked about just about everybody. We talked a little bit about Casey Jones, but I do just want to throw out there that I love the mask that he wears. I wish I could find that mask.
Mm-hmm.
I think is exactly how it looked in the cartoon show. Did it not?
It is
look a little different.
I think it's pretty
the
spot
exact
on.
same. Yeah, and I've always loved that hockey mask. I think it's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I like his character. He's almost as much of a teenager as the Turtles.
Right.
And I love there's a scene of them at the farmhouse, and he's chopping up carrots with Leonardo's samurai sword, which I think is funny.
Right.
So yeah,
it's funny because he's kind of like his own. He's doing the same thing the Turtles are doing.
He's a vigilante.
Yeah, he's chasing down the bad guys, and that's what he was doing when he saw Raphael up on the roof when he got ambushed.
Right.
Is he's up there with a radio listening for, I guess, police?
Maybe it's like a police scanner?
Yeah, scanner, and he's got his binoculars. So he's out there on the top of the roof being Batman.
Right. Just it's like the non-billionaire Batman. Just takes baseball bats and cricket paddles or whatever
he brought a lot of comic relief that I didn't pick up. I mean, you knew he was goofball as a kid, but some of the stuff he says is just like they were in the sewer, and when they were bringing him to the sewer, and he was complaining, and I think it was Michelangelo called him claustrophobic.
Yeah,
and he goes, "Do you want to punch in the face?" And then there's also this pause, and he goes, "I've never looked at another man in my life."
Yeah.
April's like, I think he means you're afraid of closed space.
Yeah. That was something I definitely never picked up on as a kid.
Right.
I picked up on this viewing. That was funny.
Yeah.
He's like, you want a fist to the mouth or something like that. And if it weren't for Casey Jones sleeping in the truck that night, if he wasn't for his claustrophobia, he would have never followed Danny to the Foot's clan and saved Splinter. So it was all...
That's right. And there's something that happened in that scene that was interesting, and it wasn't a mistake. And I don't know why they did it. So Danny comes out of the sewer.
Yep.
And he leaves the manhole
uncovered.
And doesn't put it back. But then it cuts to Casey Jones getting out of the truck, and he starts following him, and he walks around the manhole, and the lid's still off, so they intentionally didn't have Danny put it back.
Interesting.
First time I noticed this, I don't really understand what the
reasoning behind was.
Yeah. Let's leave the manhole cover open so someone can drive over it.
I don't know what Danny's plan was. You're absolutely right. I mean, I was thinking maybe because I don't think his original plan was to go save Splinter. It was he was just going back, maybe to talk to Splinter or
right.
something.
I think
Because I was thinking maybe his original plan was to save Splinter, and he figured it was one less step to worry about on his way back. But
true,
I don't know.
Because I mean, those can be. Don't they require special tools to open? Like now?
Now maybe, I don't know.
I think back then they had finger holes. I could be wrong.
I think they were just difficult to open.
So maybe that's why he left it open, is because it's, like you said,
it's not
easier to... I don't know. Let's put a lot of thought into it.
Right. Something I noticed this time around, too, jumping back a little bit, which just made me laugh, was during the scene where they just got the tour of the antique shop and they're going back up to April's apartment, right before Raphael... Actually, it's right after Raphael crashes through the window, you know? And they're surrounded by Foot Clan ninjas or Foot Clan soldiers. Right as the fight starts to happen, I noticed there was already Foot Clan people passed out, like, in the corners and stuff. They were already, like, littered throughout the apartment, even though the fight had just begun. Which I thought was very interesting.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I was going to say the ceiling came down, but no, it didn't.
But they threw Raphael through it.
Yeah, through the window.
And then they all jumped down.
Yeah.
But if
maybe
you watch...
they had trouble landing?
Maybe. That's a good question. I think Shredder obviously is a threat, and I think his apprentice Tetsu or whatever his name is a threat. But I think they need to spend a little more time training their clan, because they're not the greatest fighters.
Speaking of training your clan, did I miss something here? What is the purpose of the clan to begin with?
To steal radios, I think.
Okay.
And I guess you got to be a ninja to do it.
But let's seriously here, though. They're stealing the radios. They're stealing radios. They're stealing TVs. They're stealing arcades, so that they can have a big entertainment.
Right. So they have like a party space.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess they're trying to take over New York City. In the comics, there was a reason for it, and I can't remember what it was, because I was going to say it was to find... It was interesting because the Foot was a group in Japan, and it wasn't Orokosaki was not Shredder, or he was Shredder, but it was the owner of Splinter.
Yoshi.
What's his name? Yeah, Hamato Yoshi. He killed Orokosaki's brother, older brother. And that's why Orokosaki comes to New York later to find Hamato Yoshi and take revenge on him. Okay. And then the whole thing happens just like in the movie, where his wife, and there was the thing, and that's what it was Orokosaki's brother had a thing for the woman, like Hamato Yoshi, and they got married and went to New York, and he came home and found her dead on the ground, and Orokosaki's there, just like in the movie. But I was going to say, I was thinking he put the Foot together to find him, but I don't think that's the case. I think he put the Foot together afterwards, and I can't remember what exactly they were... I think they were just trying to establish the Foot overseas is really what it was.
Gotcha.
But they don't really go into that in this movie, do they?
No, not at all. I mean, in this movie, it really seems like, they're basically telling kids, you can steal whatever you want, and you can have whatever you steal, as long as you're willing to be a part of this.
Right. It's just to brainwash them into being a part of the clan.
Right.
But
why is the clan in New York, and what are they getting the forces for? You're right. They never discuss it.
They're not going after the turtles.
When Shredder is first announced, when his introduction scene, he makes that big speech and he talks about how there are freaks of nature out there that they need to fight because they're getting in the way.
Exactly.
But it's only because they're getting in the way, I'm guessing, of their stealing.
Right.
And so that's how this whole enemy, whatever you want to call it, between the turtles and Shredder begins. Is like he's like, you're getting in the way of my thievery plans. And the turtles are like, sorry, dude. That's like the whole reason they don't like each other.
That's the plot right there.
Right.
So, yeah. I don't know.
It's a little thin.
It's got some holes in it.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much all I've got to say about the movie, honestly. Is there anything else? I mean, the only other thing I could say, a little bit of trivia. The voice of Splinter is the same guy that voices Elmo.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's Kevin Clash.
The Splinter's outfit as well looks awesome. You know,
Splinter himself in this movie I think looks really great. He looks like a giant rat.
Yeah. I love what they did with the eyes. I mean, I was looking and during the meditation scene, Raphael is, Leonardo tells them all to close their eyes. They close their eyes. Raphael's the last one to do it, and he kind of slowly does it. Like the eye, the way that they could do the eyes was just phenomenal,
impressive. Yeah, I mean the puppetry really is really good. Like I said, looking at it now, I think they went a little overboard with the mouth movements, but overall, I mean, like it really is impressive the amount of detail they can get in the eyes and in the mouth and everything. They did it. I mean, that Jim Henson Creature Shop is, knows their stuff.
And this one had the in memory of Jim Henson at the beginning of it. Yeah,
he died. Did he die in 1990 or was it 19? I think it was 1990. So I think he died like during
It would have been. This would have been probably the next project of his to come out for them to have done that.
Jim Henson died May 16th, 1990. So I think he probably was a part of this film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when this movie was released. Actually, I can look it up.
90.
It was. I know it was 1990, but I don't know like what month.
I gotcha.
March 30th. So he actually saw the release of this film too before he died.
So
at least he was alive.
Was added later then.
Yeah, I guess it must have been. If he died in May and the movie came out in March, maybe it was added for the home video release or something.
Speaking of the home video, do you remember? It wasn't. I think it was the second one that I remember, but like I actually remember the trailers before the movie would start. I think one of them was a Pizza Hut commercial.
Yeah,
and like I
think the second one had a Pizza Hut commercial because I think I watched the second one a lot more than I watched this one. Though I'm not sure. I know I had both of them, so actually now I don't know. But I remember my old Batman VHS had a Diet Coke commercial in the beginning of it, where like Alfred is saying like Bruce Wayne's not at home or something.
But I don't remember it from the VHS because remember I told you my mom
recorded it off TV,
edited it,
yeah. VHS used to, back before DVDs had special features. Every now and again, VHS would have little special feature, like little featurettes or whatever after the movie. After the credits, if you just kept the tape playing, like it would kind of go into a little behind-the-scenes thing every now and again. Not for every movie, obviously, but...
Oh, well, I don't remember that for this one.
I don't know if this one had it or not, yeah, but I'm just saying.
Gotcha. But I wouldn't fast-forward. I'd sit there, hear the
Watch the credits?
Hit the little telephone buttons being pressed, if you remember that. Did you ever hear that?
No.
What?
In this movie?
No. It was like maybe it was just one VHS I had, but it seems like it happened on several. That like
at the end
it
of
would
the
be
tape?
the black screen.
Yes.
And then there were like it sounded like someone was dialing a phone really fast and like hitting a few buttons on the phone.
Yes, I do remember that. It was these weird kind of bloop, bleep, bleep, bloop noises.
Yeah. And then it would go into the FBI warning and blah, 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 which my mom clearly paid attention to. But anyway, I wouldn't fast forward, I'd watch the those trailers and those became as nostalgic as the movie did too,
Absolutely. No.
I did want to mention that there was the nod to the turtle van.
Was it really?
I think so. I think that April O'Neil's white van that she drives is the turtle van. It's got that flat front, it's the VW van.
Right.
So
that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. I think the turtle van is in the new movie. I think.
The one that comes out this week?
Yeah. Well,
oh yeah?
It'll be released the day that this podcast
Well, they do have hoverboards, so it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Donatello has like a giant magnifying glass always on his eye.
Yeah, Donatello, I don't know why, but Donatello was always my favorite as a kid. I think it was mostly from the movies. I don't know. I think I just really liked his character. And seeing the Donatello from the previews of this new one, I'm really, I don't know how I feel about it. He's really skinny because I guess nerds have to be really skinny. And he wears glasses that have tape on them because, like I said, he's a nerd. So he has to have glasses with tape on them. And then he does have like the night vision goggles or whatever it is that he also can bring down. I don't know. It's like they're going too far with it, I think. But
yeah.
I'm still going to see the movie. That's one of the things I was going to say though, the difference between this 1999 or 1990 Turtles versus the 2014 Turtles is how much they feel like they have to like amp up the action. Like this movie, all the action is strictly, essentially martial arts fighting.
Right.
There's really no explosions or, buildings falling down or skateboards with rockets on them. It's like it's interesting to see. Just kind of, I guess, maybe what studios think movie audiences really want, or maybe what Michael Bay thinks movie audiences really want.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm still going to see it, but I don't think I'm going to like it even as much as I like this 1990s Turtles. But we'll see.
That we will.
Well, let's rate it like we always do. What do you think you would give it? And you do a 5-star rating, just so
I do
knows,
a 5-star rating, and I still enjoy this movie. I don't know. I'm sure nostalgia has a part to play in it.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to have a part to play in my rating, too.
So, I give it 4 out of 5 stars.
I'm going to give it, I think I'm going to have to go with a B. It's a lot of fun still. There's a lot of nostalgia with it. I think my grade would be lower if I was watching it today, having never seen it before. But because of the nostalgia, and because I think it's still it's still a good bit of fun, I think I'll give it a B, maybe a B plus. I don't know. I'm gonna go with a B. It's a solid B flick, I think. And I think it mainly the reason it gets points off is just due to its thin script and the whole telepathic thing and the whole and like you said, it's part of the comics, but the whole Splinter learning the fighting style as a rat from his cage seems a little far fetched for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if they had
like I said, I don't remember if it was him remembering.
That's the thing, and I almost wish that they had done that. If they had just changed it a little bit and had it to where once he got the ooze and he said he started like growing intellectually, if he like started to remember what he saw as in a from what his master was doing, then I think it would be again, I'm pointing out flaws in a movie about turtles who grow up or who become, human-like creatures who know kung fu.
It's okay. We talk about movies where people come from other planets too.
That's true. So yeah, B movie. I like it. It's not the best movie, but it's also far from the worst.
I think it was a great answer for people that were looking for a Turtles movie back in 1999.
Yeah.
1990.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was, I loved it as a kid. It was exactly what I wanted, So, well, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990. Feel free to email us. Our emails might not work at the moment, from cinemaheroes.com, so don't email us. Leave a comment on our Facebook, facebook.com/SM and SM podcast. You can drop us a line on Twitter at cinemaheroes, or you can leave a comment on our website, www.cinemaheroes.com. If you feel like making any Amazon purchases, head over to cinemaheroes.com, click on our Amazon banner. It doesn't cost you anything extra, it just gives us a tiny percentage of what you purchased, and that's always appreciated. Thanks again to Star Geek for leaving us a 5-star review and saying those nice things. And we ask, anybody else out there who hasn't left us a review, please do so. Even if you don't like us, we'd love to get some constructive criticism and get some feedback. We'd like to hear what you like, what you don't like. That way this podcast can grow. So, anything you have to say, always appreciate it. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. Today we're going to talk about teenage... Wait, I forgot my name. And I can't do that.
Your name's Justin.
Vibration. I did... Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.